One does not need to spend a lot of money on an expensive vacation to enjoy some time amidst impressive European architecture. Guanajuato, the capital of the state of the same name, is a part of the macroregion of the Bayo in Mexico. It is in a narrow valley which makes its streets narrow and winding. Most are alleys that cars cannot pass through, and some are long sets of stairs up the mountainside. Many of the city's thoroughfares are partially or fully underground. The historic center has numerous small plazas and colonial-era mansions, churches, and civil constructions built using pink or green sandstone. The city's historic center and the adjacent mines were proclaimed a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1988. The first known inhabitants of the area were the Otomi, who were then displaced by the Chichimeca. There was Purepecha presence as well, due mostly to the ancient trading routes. The oldest known name of the area is Muoti, which means place of metals. Later it was called Paxtitlan by the Aztecs, which means place of Spanish moss. The current name of Guanajuato comes from Purepecha, Guanajuato, which means Frog Hill. Mining had been done in this area long before the Spanish arrived. Late in the pre-Hispanic period, the Aztecs had a presence here, specifically to look for metals to make ornamental objects for their political and religious elite. Some stories from this time state that the area was so rich in minerals that nuggets of gold could be picked up from the ground. The Spanish found deposits of gold here in the 1540s, and soon they sent soldiers and built forts. In 1548, the outpost was formally established with the name of Real de Minas de Guanajuato by Viceroy Don Antonio de Mendoza. Despite Chichimeca attacks, the population of the area grew rapidly, with the arrival of Spanish and Creole migrants and indigenous and mestizo traders. It was soon declared a town with the name of Santa Fe Real de Minas de Guanajuato, with Priefan de Rivera as mayor. Its first church was consecrated in 1555 and it was named Alcadia Mayor in 1574. Initially, the city was divided into 4 barrios, or neighborhoods, called Marfil/Santiago, Tepetapa, Santa Ana, and Santa Fe. The last is considered the oldest and is the current colonia of Pastita. The city was split by a small river that served as a main thoroughfare. The oldest neighborhoods are Reyes y Melado, Cata, La Valencia, and Pastita, named after the mines found here. The very first mineral vein discovered, called San Bernabé, attracted attention not only in New Spain but in Spain itself. The discovery brought thousands of migrants to the area, which led to the discovery of other deposits, such as at the Reyes mine. The San Bernabé find produced until 1928 when it tapped out. Today, the remains of this mine are found in the small village of La Luz, just outside of the city proper. In 1679, by decree of Viceroy of Mexico, Fray Payo Enriquez de Rivera, the name was changed to Ciudad de Santa Fe y Real de Minas de Guanajuato, meaning the very noble and loyal city of Santa Fe y Real de Minas de Guanajuato. In the 18th century, it was the world's leading silver extraction center, making it the richest city in Mexico for much of the early colonial period. The production of the La Valenciana mine alone affected the world economy and made the Counts of Valencianas one of the most powerful families in New Spain. The city was one of the richest and most opulent in New Spain in the 18th century. This wealth is manifested in its civil and religious architecture. The colonial architecture includes some of the best Baroque and Churrigueresque examples in the New World. such as the Valenciana, Cata, and La Compiana churches, and the Basilica of Our Lady of Guanajuato. Most constructions from this time are of pink and green sandstone. In the churches, the Baroque altars were gilded with gold from the local mines. These structures have influenced later buildings throughout central Mexico. According to the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the La Campana and La Valenciana churches are considered amongst the most beautiful examples of Baroque architecture in Central and South America. By the end of the 18th century, the lower classes were poor and oppressed, despite the great wealth coming out of the mines. One event foreshadowing the Mexican War of Independence was a revolt carried out in the city attacking the heavily militarized Caja Real, which was the building that was holding the crown's share of the mining production, to protest the high taxes. 1 year later, there were large protests against the expulsion of the Jesuits. The War of Independence broke out in the state of Guanajuato in the town of Dolores, when Father Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla shouted the Grito de Dolores and raised an insurgent army on September 15th and 16th of 1810. The army marched on to San Miguel, today San Miguel de Allende, and then on to the city of Guanajuato. Just on the outskirts of September 28, 1810, Hidalgo sent a warning letter to city authorities, but it was ignored. Instead, royalist troops and many of the elite made their stand at the Alhóndiga de Granaditas granary, an imposing building with few windows and thick walls. After entering the city unopposed, Hidalgo decided to attack the granary. This was the first battle against Spanish troops in the war and is popularly called the Siege of Alhóndiga. The insurgents were unable to take the heavily defended building as royalist gunfire kept them from approaching the only entrance until a miner by the name of Juan José de los Reyes Martinez, better known as El Pipila, brilliantly strapped a large flat stone onto his back for protection. Crawling, he carried a flask of tar and a torch. When he reached the wooden doors of the main entrance, he smeared it with the tar and set it on fire. This allowed the insurgents to penetrate the building, defeat the Spanish royalist army and elite, and take over the heavily fortified and defended building. This action is commemorated by a colossal statue of El Pipila on a hill overlooking the city. After independence, the province of Guanajuato was made a state, and the city was made its capital in 1824. However, fighting in the state and the rest of the country continued as liberals who wanted a federalist government fought with conservatives who wanted a centralized government under a monarch or dictator. Power in the city and state changed hands between the two factions during much of the 19th century, taking its toll on mining. The city was the provisional capital of the country in 1858, as liberal President Benito Juárez fought conservative rebels. In 1863, the French took the city during the French intervention of Mexico, receiving a visit from the installed Emperor Maximiliano I and his wife Carlota. French occupation ended in early 1867. The Mexican general Florencio Antillon captured it on January 26, 1868 from the conservatives. Mining reactivated around the 1870s due to foreign investments encouraged by Porfirio Diaz's government. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this renewed economic activity spurred a new era of Mexican projects such as the Juarez Theater, the Esperanza Dam, the Monumento a la Paz, the Hidalgo Monument, and the State Government Palace. Flooding had been a serious problem through most of the city's history, due to the area's steep, compact hillsides. In 1760, and 1780, two major floods nearly wiped it out. This spurred construction of large ditches and tunnels to contain and divert overflows during the rainy season. These eventually crisscrossed a large part of the city. Dam construction in the 1960s brought the flooding under control, and many of the ditches and tunnels were converted into underground roadways. The way of life in Guanajuato creates the sensation of taking a trip through two cities, the historic one with its streets and monuments that treasure the passages of the independence of Mexico, and the festive and bustling with its infinite cultural offerings like festivals, theaters, and gardens. One can sit down to have a coffee or eat a guacamaya, a roll filled with dry pork rinds, avocado, and salsa in the Jardin de la Union, Union Garden, one of the most beautiful parks due to its shape of a slice of cake. You should also go to Mercado Hidalgo to see for yourself the outstanding quality of the artisans that specialize in pottery and silver. Guanajuato is also a university town, and this can be felt in the city's character. The university is one of the must-see places to visit in Guanajuato, not only for its stairs that have been posted on Instagram plenty of times, but also for its astronomical observatory that is installed on the roof. It is open every afternoon to take a trip through the celestial vault and to admire the city from 30 meters high. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour in history of the city of Guanajuato, the capital of the state of the same name. I certainly enjoyed my time there, bicycling through Mexico 3 years ago. That's when I got to visit this beautiful city, which is one of my favorites in the whole country of Mexico. And there are many other amazing cities and towns to visit in this part of the country. So I'll be making 2 or 3 more of these videos, and then we'll be headed to a new country. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, I've got many more videos of Mexico. There's some links to some playlists of when I bicycled through Mexico 4 years ago, as well as my most recent trip traveling through eastern Mexico. You can find the links to those playlists in the description for this video. That time I bicycled through Mexico was part of a larger trip bicycling through Latin America. I've also bicycled through Eastern Africa and Central and Eastern Europe. And I have playlists for all those countries that I've traveled through available on this very same YouTube channel, Hum of the Earth. Alternatively, if you'd like to see an interactive map of everywhere that I've been and all the things that I got to see and do, I have that interactive map available over at my website, followthehumoftheearth.com. Where you can click on the different locations and see the various blog posts and videos that I've made of those places. And if you'd like to follow my continuing adventures, you can do so by clicking on the red subscribe button and clicking on the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.